All right, hey parents. So I am going to make a series of videos that are going to help our kids with addition and subtraction. So I know that some of you have reached out and have said that, your kid's struggling with subtraction. And I just want to start off saying that it's okay. It's normal for subtraction to kind of be a harder thing to grasp. But these videos that I'm going to make, they might be a little long, but they are worth watching because they will give you guys some questions, some guiding questions to help your child when they're doing their math. So I'm going to start off real basic and kind of start from scratch. And these are some things that I would be actively asking your child if they were in class with me as they do their math problems. So we'll start off with an addition problem, and then we'll use that same problem and turn it for a subtraction. Alrighty, so I'm going to start off with single digits, so just like 5 plus 2. Now I know that seems a little silly, like that's such an easy one, which it is. They know their single digit addition and subtraction. So this video mainly with the single digit is so that you guys can understand some questions that you can ask your child, because in each video I build my questions on top of each other. So we'll just start real quick. When we start a math problem, I normally would ask the child, what is our problem asking us to do, add or subtract? Now, for us, we can see that we're adding, but for some reason, to a child, they don't see this. I don't know why. They see it momentarily and then they never see it again. So what I encourage them to do, and if you have the workbook at home, if you're printing off the pages, whatever your circumstance might look like, I normally give out highlighters, and I'm going to pretend that this is a highlighter, but I would say, okay, everybody get your highlighters out. And now that we know that we're adding, I want us to highlight the addition sign, or you can circle it. That way it stands out to them, because a lot of times they know that when they start the problem, that they're adding. But the problem is when we get to like 3-digit, they forget. And so I always start out asking, what is it wanting us to do? Add or subtract? That is the very first question, and then we highlight it or circle it. So I'm just going to act like this is my highlighter, and I'm going to circle it, okay, just so that my eyes are drawn to it. And then I'll say, okay, let's label our place values. So they know their place values, ones, tens, and hundreds, and thousands. Thousands is new. That's something that we will eventually get to, hopefully by the end of the school year. But ones, tens, and hundreds, we're through with ones, we're through with tens, and we have now entered the 100s. But we only have the ones place here. Okay, so I would say let's label our ones place. And I would put a little 1 at the top because that represents the ones. Or you can have them write it out in words, but that kind of gets lengthy. So we keep it real simple in class, and we just put an O for ones. Okay, and now they have labeled their work. So then I would ask them, what is the math problem asking us to do? We know it wants us to add, but let's do our number sentence. And we use the touch talk, 5 plus 2. Okay, and then I would have them say it with me in class, touching it and saying it. 5 plus 2. Because this keeps reminding them, if they keep touching this right here, it keeps reminding them if they're adding or subtracting. And they always remember that they're adding, but when it comes to subtracting, they always revert back to adding. That's a very, very, very common thing. And I don't know why. I think it's because we spend so much time on addition and then we switch to subtraction, and their brains are still wired to keep thinking addition. So to help with that, we use the touch talk. Okay, so rule number 1 or question number 1, what is it asking us to do? Question 2 is, how are we going to label our place values? The ones place. Question 3 is, what is our number sentence? 5 plus 2. Those are 3 very basic questions that you can start out asking your child. Depending on your child's level on subtraction and addition, those are some 3 basic questions that you can start out asking them. And I know they seem annoying, but repetition is key. So as much as that sounds annoying to you, to them, it's constant. It's repetition, and they're hearing it over and over again, and that's what's going to make the fluency when it comes to our math facts. All right, so now that we have question 3, I'd be like, okay, now we're ready to what? Add or subtract. I just kind of constantly remind them. We're ready to add. Okay, some kids need a visual. I am a visual person, so I love to draw pictures. So sometimes I'm like, okay, well, let's draw a picture to the side. And they know how to draw pictures when it comes to place values. They know that the ones place is represented with little squares. Okay. They know the tens place is represented with little rods, or they might call them sticks. Okay. And each stick or rod we can count by 10. So 10, 20. And then they know hundreds is shown by big giant squares, and sometimes we put a 100 in the middle. Okay, so I like to use these pictures because it's kind of spiraling place value with addition, and it's adding, it's pulling them together, which is what we want. We learn these two teaks separately, but then they're pulled together at the very end. So I'm like, okay, show me what 5 ones looks like. Okay, so they can look up here at their little key. Sometimes I have it in the room, or you can make this at home. And they can look, okay, what does ones look like? Oh, little boxes, or they can use dots or circles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, how many ones do I have down here? And they should say 2. Okay, let's represent that with 2. Okay, now let's add them. Now, some of them are going to want to go 1, 2, 3. We're trying to get rid of our fingers. We do not want to use our fingers. Okay, they can punch it in 5, 6, 7. Okay, they can do, some of them will want to go, okay, Mrs. Rains, we have 1, 2, 3. Well, tell them we don't need to count this because what number do we know is right here? Oh, it's 5. Okay, so we don't need to count this. We know how many is there. That's 5, 6, 7. My answer is 7. Okay, so then what I like to do is I put a little equal sign and I put 7. Now I know that seems silly, but it's going to help with video 2 and when we are doing double digits. So the little riddle or rhyme that we like to use is 9 or less. So I'll do the little hand motions. 9 or less, let it rest. 10 or more, go next door. 9 or less, let it rest. 10 or more, go next door. Okay, so then I like to ask them, okay, 9 or less, are we going to let it rest? 10 or more, are we going to go next door? And then some of them might say, Miss Rains, we don't have a next door. And I'm like, you are right, we don't. So we are going to let it rest. Bingo. And we're done. Okay, so those are just some of the basic questions I like to ask them. Like I said, if you feel like your child doesn't need all of these little basic strategy questions, then by all means they've progressed and that's fine. But these are questions I would be asking the entire class every single day that we do math. Okay, so I just wanted to let y'all know some of the guiding questions that you can ask your child if you're sitting down at the kitchen table doing math together. You can rewatch this video and write the questions out on a piece of paper. That way you have them and then you can guide your kid through their math homework. And that's a really good way to help your child, okay? All right, I hope this helped, and go ahead and watch video 2 and see what you think, because I add extra things and extra questions as our math problems get harder. Bye, guys.